So meeting's being recorded, so that'll be good for people that don't make it, or if you want to watch this again. As Gary said, my name is Jim. I've been with Polarion for 7 or 8 years now, focusing primarily on Polarion. Today's discussion is going to be a combination of slides and live demonstration. Started out with like 30 slides, but as you can see in the upper left-hand corner, I got it narrowed down to 4. I think that'll be much less painful. Topic: searching with Polarion. There's actually 4 ways that you can search for items in Polarion. Why search? Well, projects get from very small to very large, and finding information becomes simple to complex. You forget where it is or what it is and try to have to go get it, and you don't know how. So that's what we're going to try to resolve here today for you, show you different ways that you can actually find things inside of Polarion. First item we're going to look at is the navigation panel. That's the panel that goes up and down the left side of the page when you open Polarion. We're going to shift after that into documents, which I think everyone's familiar with. If you've used Polarion, you most likely have used the document, the live document facility that we have built into the product. Then we're going to shift to the tractor view. Now that's the one that has the split screen where the top is like a table and the bottom is a detailed portrayal of the item you've picked in the top panel. Then we're going to talk about something that's a little special. It's called similarity search, and you're going to, I hope, enjoy that as well. Okay, so let's get this started. I'll get rid of this slide. I'm going to use this. This is a generic oil and gas project. I couldn't really figure out which one to use. I don't have one that's just so generic that it doesn't address a specific vertical, if you will. But the concepts that we're going to talk about today are identical. Doesn't matter. It's a Polarion concept, works the same in all projects. So the first thing we're going to do, we talked about, was the navigation panel. That's the panel down the left side. And at the top, right underneath the project, there is a search bar right here. Now this works a little bit like Google. As you type, it starts looking. And I said typing. So found some things with typing. The context of this particular search at this point is the project. So it's looked through the entire OMG project to find what it has found. We have all this different information here. We're going to focus a little bit on what this is actually doing, what capability you have behind the scenes. I'm clicking on work items just to bring up what it found. So this is actually the search screen itself. So when you type in piping in the search on the nav panel and you pick a category down here, you'll get this screen. I personally, and I'll show you how to do this a little bit later, set this up as a favorite. So it shows up on my panel on the left, and I just open it up and type in whatever I want here. But the important part here is that you're in control of what you're looking for. First, you put in what you want to find. But the context right now, you can see right here, it says results from OMG project. So that's where we came from. That's the context that it found so far. But I could click on everywhere. Now, I'm telling you this because you don't generally want to do this. Stay away from this. The more you have in your repository, the longer the search will take and the more resource it'll suck up. Now, that having been said, if you need this, it's here. But it'd say, for example, you had 150 projects. You click on everywhere, it'll go looking through all of them. All right, so we probably want to be very cautious with that. Now, where we can play is here. The second line, it says show work items, which is what we selected over here. But you can also look through documents or pages or plans, attachments. A lot of people don't realize that when you put an attachment into Polarion, we search that. Or you can search everything, and we're going to do it by relevance, and or you can change that to date updated. But I want to show you here, we're going to click on attachments because, like I said, people aren't really aware that this can happen. So I found all these attachments, and it tells me where they are. This last one here, for example, is attached to this document. And as you can see from the underline, it is a live link. So I can click on this and go to this document. Now, this piping fabrication and erection, there's 4 or 5 times it shows up. But look at how it's happening here. This isn't a specification requirement. This isn't a functional requirement, but it's been reused. For those of you that aren't aware of the reusability of Polarion, this is basically a modified copy of the original. And the original happens to be right here. So this search lets you look through all the different areas in the system that you might want to find what you're looking for. We're going to go ahead and go to the documents next. And we're going to pick on this one right here. System requirements, piping, fabrication. Before I go, though, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of piping at the top level here. And we'll open this back up. And find that piping document again. Here we go. So this is a document, a live document inside of Polarion. As you can see, it's a lot like Word or any other word processor you may be used to. I've gone ahead and opened up the document outline on the right-hand panel. We call this a sidebar. And you can see that there's an outline of the document itself. I'm going to expand all. Now I can see all the sections, all of the items that are in this document. Now we find that, quite honestly, the absolute best way to search a document is using the browser's search capabilities. So I'm going to hit Control F. And up in the upper right-hand corner here, you see the search is opened up. This is Chrome, by the way. I'll type in piping here. As it goes, as you type, it looks just like Google again. So all the different areas within the document that piping has shown up. In the scroll bar over on the right, a little line appears every time it finds something that's piping or piping oriented. And equally important, in the document outline, piping shows up. So it's scanning all the information that it has available. Just as an aside, it's also scanning inside of the navigation panel on the left-hand side. But combining these two, you can scroll down. Maybe this shows up, halfway through the document. So there's the 2 items that it shows up here with the lines on the scroll bar. Now, using the document outline, we can find something like, for example, this section, well, details. It finds piping here. So I can click on this and it will take me right to well details. So now I can come down and see what's going on here. And the same for a work item. This particular work item, piping default shear. Okay, so this is it here, piping default shear. So this combination of the browser search and the outliner on the right-hand side here is very effective in finding information in large documents. The larger, the easier, the more effective it becomes, because obviously if it's short, you can just glance down through it. But you can use this for any size document that you like. The things that I have found in the industry that I support, it is not uncommon to have documents like 100 pages or 1,500 pages in some cases. So they're all over the map as far as size is concerned. This is a great way to find out where everything is and what it looks like. All right, we're going to change gears now and move into the tracker view. This is a little harder. This is kind of like kicking it up a notch. We're going to go to work items and look at the tracker view. As I mentioned before, this is the split screen view where the top is a table, bottom is the information in detail on what we highlight on the top. Now, above the table, there's this search bar. It's got a blue plus to start it. Goes all the way over to the right-hand side with a magnifying glass and a drop-down menu. Let's take a look at that menu real quick. So we have global queries, we have project queries, and my queries, and that's where they're going to be available. And we're going to create a query, and we'll put it into project queries, and we'll look at see what that does. First thing we're going to do decide, right now we have all the work items, so we're going to limit that view to a specific type. The plus sign, and we're going to go for a type. Polarion provides a list of all the various types that you have in your project. We're going to look at specification requirement. Now, each requirement type has a status. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to limit the search to status. That status is going to be in review. Let's see if I have that in here. Under review. I think that's it. All right, so we've gone from like 250 different requirements down to 3. And up here in the upper right-hand corner, you can see a small text here. It says 3 found. I'm going to limit it one more time. I'm only interested in the ones that are assigned to me. So I'm going to hit the plus and say assigned to me. Now we're down to 1. All right, so I found one item that's assigned to me. That's what I was looking for. But I don't want to go through that process every time that I come to do a search for this particular item. This item is 2815. But there are ways to get directly to it. I'll show you that in just a moment. For now, though, let's go ahead and add this query to the query selection list that we had up here when I showed the drop down. We're going to put it in project queries here. So let's save the current query. We're going to give it some kind of a name. And we're going to put it in the project. So at global, everybody in the system can see it. At global, project is limited to the project and user is you. You created it, it's yours. So we're going to save this query. Let's take a look and see if we got it. There it is. And how does it work? Well, let's just go ahead and get rid of the query up here. Now we're back to all of the work items involved. And we will do drop down and JF1. Now we're back to the 1. Now the other thing, if this is a query that you're going to use all the time, if you remember, you have an area here on your navigation panel called favorites. So let's add this to the favorites list. All we have to do is click on the star in the upper left corner of the navigation panel. Give it a name. I'm just going to call it my query. I am going to leave it in favorites or put it in favorites. And I'm going to select, I actually kind of like magnifying glass for a search. So we'll do that. Now, I'm going to go back to home so that we can wipe out what we have. When that comes back, we're going to look at my query. Here it's been added to my favorites list. Click on my query, and we're back to where we started. Now, one of the things that you can do here from this particular screen is you can freeform queries. So let's say I was interested in an item that I knew about. It's called ONG-2728, which would be this number right here, the number, the identification of the work item. So I can come up to the query bar and type in ONG-2728. Now the thing that you have to remember is it is case sensitive. So it has to be done exactly correct. So it's capital O, lowercase n, capital G, a dash, and then 2728. And get the magnifying glass. Took me right to 2728. So if you know where you're going and you just want the quickest way to get there, this might be what you're looking for. Now, one other thing we want to do here before we leave, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this query. It's still freeform. This introduces us into a little bit more capability. This is like a step and a half above, okay, from above the original. So we're making a little progress in capability and complexity as we go here. Let's say we have a phrase that we're interested in. We know it's in our database here somewhere. So a double quote, and I'm going to use temperature detectors. Double quote, and hit enter. All right, so I have two. I have two that have temperature detectors written into them somewhere. So you can use a free-form phrase. You can use an item, like the ONG 2728. You can define a query using this plus sign with this particular column or the favorites. These are things that Polarion people over time have found to be desired by many different customers, and we just set those up as a starting point. Your recent queries are listed here, anything that you've done recently. And this is the important, I say important, it's not any really more important, but this is the most complete list. This is all the different fields that you can use when you do a query inside of this project. All right, so you can go looking for a project ID, proposed deviation. All you do is find one, click on it. Let's see what we get here. So here we're looking for selection comments on an SDR, put in the information, and you're good to go. So that's the idea behind this type of a query. Now we are going to kick this up a notch again, make it a little more complicated. And we're not going to do each one of these. I'm actually going to do this in a PowerPoint. It's one of the 4 slides. Our query system, the one we just saw, is based on Lucene. We saw a single word query or a single item query. We saw a phrase query. We saw the drop down by example type query. There are some things here that you can do. You can use a wild character, an asterisk. So if I wanted HIGH space PRES asterisk, I would get pressure. But I would also get other things, perhaps. The only restriction on this wildcard character, this asterisk, is you can't have it as the first character. It can be embedded, it can be trailing, so you can actually modify that word you're looking for, or the word I'm looking for. The string of characters that you're trying to work with, you can put an asterisk into them anywhere. Now, there is a proximity capability as well. It sets up like this, where you have a double quote, you have one or more words in here, 2 words in this case. You have piping and pressure. Now, the tilde has a couple different functions. In this particular case, it's telling me to find the occurrences of piping and pressure that are up to 10 character or 10 words apart. So I can actually see phrases. This could be like, piping should have pressure no more than 10. So it would find that, because I'm asking it to say, look at piping, look at pressure, and give me a 10 character spread here. Ranges are supported. Something like this, where the word might be date, colon, put in the date in a year, month, day format, just like this, from one day to another. Now, this is also important, too. Polarion can, the Lucene query and Polarion can do ands and ors, things like that, but they're all capitalized. Okay, so that's syntactically correct. Now, one of the things that was in the title of our session today was simple to fuzzy. For those of you that may not know, a fuzzy search is something that is similar in nature to what you're looking for. For example, we might be looking for a pipe, and we're going to give it some parameter. This tilde tells me the level of exactness, I guess, maybe, that I'm looking for. How focused do I want this search to be? 0.5 is actually the default. It goes from 0.2 to 0.9, where 0.9 is the most focused. So 0.2 would be the least focused. So this is the default. So you put in the word you're looking for, a tilde, and its value, if you want to change it from 0.5. So what you're going to find with a search like this might be piping, might be siping, if you have that in there, S-I-P-I-N-G. It might be pipes, P-I-P-E-S. So the fuzzy logic is going to return values that are similar in nature, well, exact to similar in nature of what you're actually searching for. So these are the more complex approaches to actually doing the search in the Lucene bar at the top of the tracker. Now, if you are running into any coding and you want to do that, I should probably point this out. Here, I can take a search. We'll do something quick here. We'll just pick up a type and leave it at that. I can do a search here and get the information that I need in the table, but I'm going to put that into some wiki or into a report, and it needs text. One of the things I can do is convert this to text, and I can actually highlight this, copy it, and put it into the code, either in an advanced report or a wiki page, wherever I need the actual text of the search. That can be done as well. Now, on our chart here, on our slide, we have one last area to discuss, and that is similarity search. A while back, some colleagues and I decided that maybe searching was, well, it's definitely powerful, but maybe a little more complex than the average person might be interested in. And it brings back a very focused amount of information. It brings back the item, for example. We saw that. We focused from all of the work items down to a single one using a search in the Lucene bar. What if we could get some more information, and what if we could make this a little easier for people to use? Well, that's the similarity search that we developed. Let's get rid of the look at the similarity search. Now, I've made that a favorite here because I do use it quite a bit. This is a similarity search. From here, I can do a variety of things. We'll start with some of the more esoteric ones over here on the right. I can create a new work item from here. I can create a new document. But back to the search itself. I have the capability of determining what work items I want to search through. So I choose. And I've chosen these three different requirement types for this example. I choose the sensitivity of a search if I'm doing a fuzzy search. Okay? We're going to put that at 9, leave it very focused. Then I'm going to put in search statement, or in this case, a word. When I apply it, this is the kind of information that I receive. In a nice table, it tells me what type the work item was that it found, functional or specification. It gives me a link specifically to that work item. So we can just open up 1524, I think it said, and see exactly what it is. Oh, 1624. And we can go down through it and see what we need to see. Equally as important, it tells me the title. It tells me the description. It shows me where it found the word that I asked for, typing. And it also tells me the document that it found it in. So if I click on the document, we can go right back into the document where it came from. You know, that's a Polarion livestock document. So this is the document that it found it in. All that information comes from this similarity search capability. So we're pretty pleased with the way this was worked out and the information that you get from it and the control that you have over it. All right. That wasn't so bad. Better than a trip to the dentist, I guess. Are there any questions about searching inside of Polarion? No questions? Remember, if you are asking a question, you are on mute.
Yeah, thanks, Jim. I was on mute myself, trying to talk as well. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions, or you can put them in the chat window. I think a chat did just pop up, Tom, if you wouldn't mind checking that out and see what that question is. And if anybody else has a verbal question, I'll just remind you that we do have several customers online here, so just keep that in mind when you're asking your question, just if it's sensitive or not. Be careful with that. Just want to remind you of that.
Jim, I think the question was where to find a similarity search. How do you get that involved?
Get in touch with Tom or Gary or your sales rep and ask him to ask us, and we'll be happy to deliver it for you. It's at this point, as far as I know, there's no fee for it. It gets plugged into the system. It's very simple and pretty easy to run.
So it's not on the extensions website, it's just available on request?
It is not. It's available by request, exactly, Tom.
Okay, we'll handle it then per request.
Anything else?
For clarity, also, this searches are dating back for quite a number of previous versions, right? Any comments around how far back our search capabilities that you're showing date?
No, it's forever.
Perfect.
The newest one is similarity search, and we've had that for a couple years now. But the search capability and the way it appears inside of Polarion will be consistent for probably, well, at least the 8 years I've been here.
Perfect. Thanks, Jim.
There's a question about using SQL queries in the receive query tool.
Okay. So Polarion does have a SQL database, and it is possible to query that database for the information you're looking for. In all honesty, when I have a customer who has a very intensive search for a report or something, we recommend that they use a SQL search type of scenario. We don't have like a drag and drop or a query by example facility for the SQL database, but it is an open database, and if you have a tool that can actually access the database from a query perspective, we give you the schemas that you would need to be able to use to hook them together to have that type of a reporting scenario. Otherwise, you would have to simply code it into either a wiki or, well, actually now we prefer it in a live report, which does, by the way, give you the opportunity to put in parameters. So it's not simply just a report.
So we have a couple of questions coming in via chat. One of them is, isn't the database just storing all the data that is already in the SVN?
Actually, it is. That's a very astute observation. It's the SQL database is not actually a mirror, but it's pretty close. So you can find historical data, you can find current data, just like it is in SVN. One of the things that it cannot do is it can't do a differencing and create the revisions. So SVN definitely takes care of that for us.
And then the next one is the only way to use or in a search by using the convert to text option?
I'm sorry, do that one again, Gary.
They're asking, is the only way to use the or statement in a search? And is it the only way of that by using the convert to text option?
No,
and if you
absolutely not. You could the convert to text, I showed that because it was, you know, just in case we wanted a more advanced perspective. You can do it yourself. You can, if you're writing out the text itself, you know, when I did the convert to text and we did type : system requirement, I think, or not system, specification requirement. You could actually type that in. And you could actually type in type colon parentheses, specification requirement, then OR, capital O, capital R, system requirement, or whatever else. So ands and ors, you can use yourself. If you're using the plus sign like I was, it's implied. So when I click on type, remember the window came up and it gave me a choice and I could pick. I actually did pick 3 different ones. If I were to convert that one to text, it would do something like what I just said, where it would put it out with ors between them. But you can do that manually if you so desire, if you want to write that query.
Okay, well, we're a little over time. I have one more question for you, and then I think we're going to wrap up. The final question is how to search for a keyword within a specific space.
When we're talking about a space, you kind of caught me off guard. Are we actually talking about a space?
It just says within a specific space. So I guess if we need more clarification, we might need to get back to the person that asked it, or if they want to.
No, I'm good. It sounds like that particular person has got a really good handle on Polarion. So the only way that I'm aware of to actually focus the search into a space would be to do it as a customized report, if you will. The live report, where you would put up parameters, you would select the space that you want to look through the search and do it that way. There's nothing out of the box that will let you focus on a space, I don't think. Bear with me just a moment.
Well, we can always evaluate it and get back, Jim, because we're a little over time and I don't want to keep people.
Sure.
Unless you think it's going to be a quick one.
I
see you're clicking through as I'm talking.
Yeah, it is quick. I was just hoping maybe space was in here and I don't see it. So it would be a custom report using a little bit of code to create a basically a drop-down list of what you're looking for, what space you're looking for. Kind of like the top end of the similarity search.
Yeah. Well, okay, I'd like to thank everybody for joining, and thanks, Jim. I think this was very helpful. We've received some feedback even on the chat window that people have enjoyed it. We will be having another tips and tricks next week. The topic has not been chosen yet, and we are always welcome to, if you guys want to email us, throw some suggestions in the chat window, call, contact your representative, feel free to do that. We'll be glad to take all suggestions into consideration. We do have a list forming, and we will be setting and sending out invites next Monday for the next call. And as we said earlier, this will be recorded and was recorded, and we'll be publishing that as well like we did the other. Thanks again, Jim and Tom, and thanks everybody for participating.
Have a great day, folks.